Hey, what's going on YouTube? Son of Sanguinius here, and today we're going to be continuing our Blood Angels Tactics videos with a look at the very first heavy support choice in the Blood Angels Codex, the Stormraven Gunship. Alright, so the Stormraven comes in at 200 points. It is Ballistic Skill 4, Front, Side, and Rear Armor 12 with 3 hull points. For war gear, it has a twin-linked assault cannon, a twin-linked heavy bolter, 4 storm strike missiles, and ceramite plating. For special rules, it has Assault Vehicle and Power of the Machine Spirit. It also has Skies of Fury. If the Stormraven gunship has moved more than 6 inches, passengers can still disembark, but they must do as follows. Nominate any point over which the Stormraven has moved that turn and deploy the squad as if it were deep striking onto that point. If the unit scatters, every disembarking model must immediately take a dangerous terrain test. If any of the models cannot be deployed, the entire unit is destroyed. Models that disembark using the Skies of Fury special rule cannot charge in the turn that they do so. It's also a transport, so its transport's capacity here. The Stormraven can carry 2 separate units, 1 unit of up to 12 models in its cabin, plus a single dreadnought of any type in its rear grapples. If a zooming Stormraven gunship is wrecked or suffers a crash and burn result, the embarked dreadnought suffers a strength 10 hit on its rear armor. If the Stormraven gunship is hovering, the hit is strength 4 instead. The Stormraven gunship can carry jump infantry. For fire points, none. Access points, a Stormraven gunship has 1 access point at the front of its hull, 1 at either side, and 1 at the rear. For options, it can replace its twin-linked assault cannon with one of the following: a twin-linked plasma cannon for free, or a twin-linked las cannon for free. It may also replace its heavy bolter with one of the following: a twin-linked multi-melta for free, or a typhoon missile launcher for 25 points. It may also replace its 2 side access points with side sponsons, each with hurricane bolters for 30 points. And finally, it may take any of the following: a searchlight for 1 point, extra armor for 5 points, and a locator beacon for 10 points. Wow, I hope you guys got all that. Alright, so, the flying brick. Honestly, it's a good transport, and, depending on how you kit it out, it can definitely dish out some very damaging firepower. So honestly, its basic loadout with the twin-linked assault cannon and the heavy bolter is going to give you some really good anti-infantry support. If you want to go something more like, like anti-armor, perhaps something like the multi-melta and the las cannon are more up your alley. And keep in mind, you're also going to have those 4 storm strike missiles that can certainly help against vehicles. I believe they're, let me double check this. Something like 72-inch range. Where is it? Storm Strike. Here we go. 72-inch range, Strength 8, AP 2, Heavy 1, Concussive, 1 use only. So yeah, you can definitely, punch through some vehicles with that. Alternatively to those two, you could also go with the plasma cannon and the typhoon missile launcher if you wanted to have just sort of the best of both worlds. Frankly, the plasma cannon can do damage against vehicles and against infantry, and so can the typhoon missile launcher, as it has 2 methods of fire. I believe it has frag and crack missiles. Yep. Typhoon missile launcher, frag missiles, 48-inch range, strength 4, AP 6, heavy 2 blast, and then the crack missiles, 48 inches, strength 8, AP 3, heavy 2. You're also that's also a nice way to have a little template madness in there. As far as blasts go, plasma cannon and typhoon missile launcher, again, with that combo, you can pretty much hurt almost anything. As far as additional armaments go, the hurricane bolters are certainly an option if you wanted just a little bit more extra firepower in there, and with the power of the machine spirit, you could probably at least fire one side off in any given situation. Some other things to kind of consider here. Extra armor, I guess, if you don't want your Stormraven to sort of, zoom off the table. If it suffers the crew stunned result, it just counts as crew shaken instead. It's only 5 points, so there isn't too much, you're not sticking too much points into it. I just wonder if, those 5 points could be better spent elsewhere in your list. The locator beacon, I suppose if you plan on having the Stormraven on the table for more than one turn, that might be an option. But given the fact that he's probably not going to be able to come on turn 1. And he's going to come on turn 2, so the locator beacon isn't really going to be worth, a whole lot. Only by turn 3 will the locator beacon, actually come into effect. And by that point, it's questionable as to, whether or not, wherever he's at will still be viable. It's questionable as to, if the thing will still be flying by turn 3, as no doubt your opponent certainly won't waste any time trying to get rid of this giant flying brick with all these scary guns on it. So if you plan on having the Stormraven, on the tabletop for a prolonged time, you might consider the locator beacon. Although, frankly, I think I'd put the locator beacon on something like scout bikes, or I would find some other units or whatever that are going to be on the table, turn 1. For like locator beacons and teleport homers and that sort of thing. If I wanted to help deep strike my army, I certainly probably would not put it on a flyer that's going to draw the fire of my opponent. And besides, I may have whatever I would normally deep strike boarded onto the Stormraven itself. If it's Terminators, if I'm bringing a Stormraven and Terminators, chances are I'm probably going to put the Terminators inside the Stormraven. Same thing with something like a Dreadnought. If it's not in a drop pod, I would probably throw it in the back of the Stormraven. But that's just me. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say, and I am aware that with the with something like I believe it's the Archangel's Demi Company, there's some ways to play around with that. However, the Archangel's Demi Company doesn't sort of expand its rules or anything to the Stormraven, because the Stormraven is a command choice and the Angel's Blade detachment, and therefore it wouldn't get that. I believe it's Elite Strike Force that lets the Archangel's Demi Company come in, or lets you start rolling for reserves turn 1. But either way, the Stormraven, no matter what, it would not be part of the Archangel's Demi Company, and therefore would not benefit from that special rule. Anyway, so that's pretty much what you got. Honestly, the Stormraven, it can be great, in a transport role. Front side and rear armor 12. It's decent. Plus, especially if you consider it's going to be zooming on in the turn it comes in, your opponent, unless they have Interceptor, will have to fire snapshots at it. It's a fairly safe, fairly sturdy flyer, especially if you give it something like extra armor, and it also has that ceramite plating to sort of help that as well. But alternatively, it can also be used for some, for some fire missions. I mentioned how you can set or kit it up for anti-infantry with the twin-linked assault cannon and the twin-linked heavy bolter. You can also kit it out with a last cannon multi-melta for anti-armor. If you just want some blast template madness, you can go with the plasma cannon, the Typhoon missile launcher for just sort of the best variety of things to sort of go with. And of course, you also have those 4 Storm Strike missiles. Don't forget about those. Those can definitely help you in your battles. So overall, it's an expensive but a very deadly gunship that can fill out fire support roles or transport roles, and I think certainly can earn its place in your list, provided you have the points. So, anyway, that's all I got time for in this video. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say down below in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.